Good afternoon, everyone. As we take time today to celebrate the life, the legacy, and the teachings of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we are also in the midst of a weather event that is creating dangerous roads and conditions and will continue to dump snow, at least on some parts of Kentucky, within very, very low temperatures, especially through Wednesday morning. We want to make sure that everyone is safe, that everyone is making good decisions, that everyone is taking extra time if they have to go somewhere to get them as we get through this system. It should be Wednesday afternoon, though it does look like we may have one coming after that on Thursday or on Friday. We want to provide an update on the state's response to these storms to make sure that every single Kentuckian has the information they need to stay safe. Once again, we've made it through record-setting tornadoes, floods, ice storms, and windstorms. We want everyone to be safe through this weather event and the ones that we're going to see probably until the end of February. I'm going to provide some key updates, and you'll hear from our state emergency response leaders, including the Adjutant General of the National Guard, Major General Lamberton, Secretary of the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, Jim Gray, and Interim Director of Kentucky Emergency Management, Dustin Heiser. First, let's give an update on the weather, and let's go to the most recent slides from the National Weather Service. First, what you need to know is we had one round of snow already. We're going to have a second. You're going to see the map in a minute that will show you where it is, but if you are east of I-75, and for the most part south of I-64 and in that wedge, if you will, that's where we're going to see the most snow and what could be the most difficult road conditions. Though remember, it is so cold and will be so cold that it is tough for the salt and other treatments for the roads to work, meaning roads can be slick anywhere throughout Kentucky. And with the temperatures the way they are, getting to secondary or more rural roads is going to take some time as we move through this storm system. So again, tonight into tomorrow morning, another round of snow, and we'll show you that. And then it can get brutally cold depending on exactly what we get, how much snow we get. Some of those conditions will tell us and show us exactly how cold it will be. But Tuesday morning, right now, they're looking at -5 to +5 in wind chill. And then Wednesday morning, even colder than that, heating up Wednesday afternoon, probably getting above freezing Thursday. But again, we've got a chance for another snow system right after this one. Let's go to the next one. All right, this gives you just an idea of what we were talking about. The pink is the winter storm warning. That's where we know there's going to be some significant weather. The blue is the winter weather advisory, where we're going to have at least some significant weather that will impact our roads. This is a whole lot of our state. And remember, this can move depending on how the system comes in. So even if you are outside of this, even if you're in the Louisville area, which right now does not look like it's going to get hit significantly by this second round, still be weather aware. Check with your local news. Watch your meteorologists as they get the updated models coming in. Let's go to the next one. There we go. Okay, so this is the most recent model of how much snow we're going to get. Again, for the most part, east of I-75, though if you go over to Russell Springs, really about Tompkinsville, you see that's where it's looking between 2 and 4 inches. Higher elevations in some of eastern Kentucky could potentially get more than that. You look at the rest of the state, it's looking like it's more of a dusting, but again, with what we have already had and how cold it is, the roads can still be dangerous in the rest of the state, and all the system has to do is move just a little bit to make impacts in areas where right now we're not seeing it. Let's do the next one. All right, this is the wind chill that we're looking at on Wednesday morning. It's going to, at that point, be dangerous. 30 minutes, you could get frostbite in exposed areas. Possibility that Tuesday morning will be maybe not this cold, but within the wind chill watch range. So be ready Tuesday and Wednesday morning to cover up, wear more than you normally would. Make sure that your kids are really bundled up. Again, it's going to get a little bit warmer on Wednesday afternoon. We'll get out of this scary wind chills. May take until Thursday to get above freezing. Let's show the next one. Some other people will come in and talk about these again, but remember, with wind chill, you have to dress that much warmer than the temperature will tell you that it is. We've been through a lot of these. Certainly, December of 2022, as cold as I can ever remember it. Make sure you have plenty of layers on. Don't take any chances. And if you're going somewhere, make sure you bring all those layers in the car just in case. Then the last one, when you are driving, throughout at least Thursday afternoon, take your time, go slower. We don't need people driving 60 plus, 55 plus on different roads that are out there. It's going to be slick in different places. Transportation is working very, very hard, but accumulation plus temperatures that are this low are going to mean that there are slick roadways. We want you to take care of yourself and others, and that means slowing down. It also means having an emergency supply kit in your car just in case. Remember, you can be slower doing everything that you can, and there could be a backup caused by another accident, and that emergency supply kit could be the difference in you being comfortable and very uncomfortable, or even needing help. We also want to make sure that people out there aren't traveling when you don't need to. We've had a rescue operation in Red River Gorge today that was successful. We had some campers that went out at a time when the weather obviously has not been good, got trapped. We want to thank the KSP aircraft branch, which sent a helicopter to get them out today. Red Star Wilderness EMS, Powell County Search and Rescue, Wolfe County Search and Rescue, specifically on our helicopters. Captain Brad Austin, Pilot Dwayne Lewis, Sergeant Zach Lusk, Sergeant Heath Ayers, Sergeant Todd Coleman, and Rescue Specialist David Pfeiffer for making those rescues. Those 4 individuals are now safe, but just make sure that we're making good decisions over the next 48 hours. We don't put anybody's life, ours, or others in danger. We currently have 1,014 citizens without power. We did get lucky in the wind gusts that were coming at the end of last week that we didn't lose power in more places due to downed tree limbs. That makes this situation that we're dealing with now more manageable, especially in terms of how cold that it is getting. I want to highlight our state partners who are working so hard to get us through this. We're going to start with interim KYEM Director Dustin Heiser, who is here with us to provide a few updates. Dustin?
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon. I'd like to update you on Kentucky Emergency Management's response effort addressing the winter weather storm system currently impacting the Commonwealth. It is in the early stages. Our communication with the National Weather Service allowed us to anticipate the challenges ahead. Over the last 48 hours, we have engaged in level 4 virtual monitoring of the situation, closely tracking the evolving situation. Recognizing that the storm severity, recognizing the storm severity increasing, we transitioned to an in-person level 4 monitoring last night, ensuring a hands-on approach to managing this crisis. Our commitment to communication is a high priority. We are in constant communication with the National Weather Service, the Governor's Office, and many others, ensuring we have the latest information to guide our response. Simultaneously, we maintain open lines with our emergency support functions, our state partners, and our local partners, keeping them informed and on high alert. Our preparedness is no accident. As you can imagine, we've seen this here in Kentucky a lot lately. But as a result of frequent training, countless hours of practice and these increased real-life responses, we continually learn to improve and draw on our strengths from those collective experiences. As we navigate this challenging time, we want to emphasize the importance of staying informed and taking safety precautions. Please follow weather updates from official channels. I want to talk about some safety tips. You heard the governor talk about, the wind chills. Number one, if you're going to go outside, dress in layers to retain your body heat. Wear a hat, gloves, preventing heat loss, and ensure clothing is appropriate for the cold and wet conditions. 30 minutes is all it takes for exposed skin in these conditions to have frostbite. I'll just say this: if you don't need to go outside, stay inside. That's the best thing you can do. As we go through these temperatures, if you're going to be using space heaters, follow safety guidelines. Keep them at least 3 feet away from flammable objects and turn them off if you leave the room or go to sleep. If you're utilizing generators or other outdoor heating sources, first of all, they're outdoor sources. When using these appliances, we need to prevent carbon monoxide buildup. So please keep them outside where they belong and away from any ventilation, intake ventilation for your home. To prevent frozen pipes, we ask that you check on those. If you can insulate them now, do so. If not, allowing for faucets to drip during extreme cold temperatures is going to help with this. Also, in case you do have a pipe break, know where the shutoff is in your house. Next thing is we need to check on our neighbors and our friends. Stay connected with your family, friends, and neighbors. Check on the vulnerable community members, such as the elderly, those with special needs, and ensure their well-being. Last but not least, if you have pets, bring them in from this extreme cold. If that's not possible, provide adequate shelter, food, and unfrozen water. Remember, personal safety is a collective effort. Together, we are resilient Kentucky. Together, we will weather the storm and emerge stronger. Thank you, Governor.
Our state Kentucky Transportation Cabinet crews and contractors continue to treat and plow routes across the state, giving special attention to critical routes for moving goods and people, as well as emergency services. Please be patient with them. If you encounter any of their machinery, please slow down, both so that they can do their job, and that machinery is a lot bigger than whatever vehicle you are in. It is for your safety and their safety. They are facing a challenging combination of below freezing air and pavement temperatures that make salt and de-icing materials slower to act, especially after dark. Snowfall amounts aren't always the best indicator of roadway hazards. So again, please stay off the roads if you don't have to, and check go/ky.ky.gov before you leave. Keep a full gas tank and pack an emergency car kit with the essentials like a blanket, water, jumper cables, and a cell phone charger. Now I'll turn it over to Transportation Cabinet Secretary Jim Gregg to talk a little bit more about the efforts they're undertaking.
Well, thanks, Governor, and thanks for urging that caution that you just did for those who are driving our large snow plows. That's big equipment, and as the governor said, we want to urge caution because it can be very dangerous for those who are driving, and it can be dangerous for those who are encountering that equipment. Governor, you and Dustin just did a great job of talking about preparedness, and that's exactly what I'm going to talk about for just a minute. We are still battling this winter storm, of course, and it might surprise some folks to know that our crews have actually been preparing for this weather, for this winter weather, actually since early in the summer. that's when our snow and ice crews begin preparation. A lot of planning involved, a lot of equipment preparation, ordering and stockpiling of supplies like salt, training of our plow drivers, contracting for independent plow operators to supplement our state forces, ensuring that private towing operators are prepared. We will actually have a force of as many as 2,000 people, plus some 1,400 snow plows to deploy around the state, both state trucks and private contractors. I was talking just a bit earlier with Chris Jones, who is our District 11 Chief District Engineer. There are 5 strike force trucks. They're large tandem axle snow plows, and one of those strike force trucks is already being deployed to I-75 in Laurel and Whitley counties. Now, as the governor said, this winter storm is serious, of course, and the extreme cold that we're facing makes it all the more dangerous and challenging. We won't see temperatures above freezing till probably next weekend. Daytime temperatures will be in the 20s and at night in the single digits and teens. This doesn't make chemicals completely ineffective, but it will take longer to clear roads, and it increases the likelihood of refreezing, which we want to be particularly cautious about this evening. Our crews are taking every precaution to stay safe and warm while working in these challenging temperatures. Our focus, as the governor said, is to keep priority routes open, like the interstates and the parkways, before moving to other routes. That means that as the traveling public, you will need to drive with extreme caution on low traffic volume routes. Now, each time fresh snow falls, like what we're experiencing today, it covers up our tracks, and the crews start the process over on their routes. They are out and they are working as we speak. Now, some of this equipment is shown here. New equipment. James, you're going to show an image of the new wide wing. Is that coming up next? Okay. All right. Thank you. Well, we've got a new wide wing blade plow. Governor, this was in the inaugural parade. It's a new piece of equipment. It requires specialized equipment operators, but it's the first of its kind in the state. We're still not to that yet. I don't know if we're going to get it, James, but it is an impressive piece of equipment. It will plow a 25-foot wide strip. I don't believe we're going to get it over, James. All right, this is good. So, as you can see, we are not dealing with huge layers of snow today. The real challenge that we're facing is icy roads due to frozen moisture that keeps refreezing, and the weather won't let up, of course, anytime soon. Our crews across the state have been working overnight to treat and plow the roads. Many have just wrapped up another round of road treatment. Now, reports of lane closures on major highways have been reported since last night. I want to go over a few of those. At least 2 in Western Kentucky involved commercial trucks carrying liquids that spilled on the road. Those take more time to reopen because of cleanup and cause cleanup efforts. US 60 continues to be blocked at the 2-mile marker in Ballard County due to a semi-crash between Wickliffe and Barlow. Callaway County Highway 121 has 1 lane closed. Also, we're tracking a road closure in Fayette, I-75 southbound at the 106-mile marker. As of 2 o'clock, just a little bit ago, 2 lanes are closed with 1 lane open there. Now, I want to make you all aware of a couple of extended road closures we have in the western part of the state. US 45 Ohio River, the Brookport Bridge in McCracken County is closed until further notice due to icing conditions there. We expect it to remain closed for the next few days, so we encourage you to use an alternate route. The Dorena Hickman Ferry in Fulton County is closed until further notice. We've received some reports of smaller road closures due to flooding in Western Kentucky from a few days ago. So I want to be clear on this next part. If a road is closed due to flooding, turn around. Do not try to cross it. It doesn't take much moving water for a vehicle to lose traction and be swept off the road. This is the time to practice basic driving tips to keep you safe. Buckle up and put the phone down. Reduce your speed. Give yourself plenty of time to reach your destination. Keep both hands on the wheel. I'd like to mention that we are monitoring what's happening at the Kentucky-Tennessee border near Jellicoe, which could cause lengthy delays if there are major impacts to that area. I just got off the phone with the Chief District Engineer and that in that area, I-75 myself. Some other potential major areas of impact, mostly affecting our southern and southeastern parts of the state in this next storm, are the Hal Rogers Parkway, the Mountain Parkway, and I-75 south of Berea. So I urge everyone to stay weather alert by monitoring weather forecasts. And if you must travel, we have a website that's loaded with information and resources for winter driving. It's snowky.ky.gov. Here we go. Thanks, James. And there you will find links to your local highway district social media accounts so you can track the latest in your area. Finally, check traffic on a navigational app like Waze or on our website at goky.ky.gov. Now I'll turn it back over to the governor.
Thank you. Thank you to Secretary Gray. In order to have every resource to combat a major weather system like this, I declared a state of emergency that enabled the National Guard to help in this response. The National Guard is currently deploying personnel and equipment to armories located near travel corridors that either have been or we think will be significantly impacted. These teams are on standby, prepared to support motorists who may find themselves stranded on roads due to the adverse weather conditions. The Kentucky National Guard teams stationed at armories are equipped with essential resources such as vehicles, communication equipment, and emergency supplies. This enables them to reach and assist stranded motorists quickly and efficiently. Their expertise in handling challenging weather conditions makes them such a valuable asset and should give us peace of mind that we should not get out on the roadways unless we have to. The Guard's efforts are closely coordinated with local authorities and emergency management. This collaboration ensures a seamless response to incidents that may occur during this winter storm. Today, we have General Lamberton here with us to provide us with an update.
Thanks, sir. I greatly appreciate that. Good afternoon, everybody. So as both of the governor and Secretary Gray just alluded to, we, your Kentucky National Guard, are currently working with our partners in the Department of Transportation and the Kentucky Emergency Management Department, also the troopers from the KSP, the Kentucky State Police, as it takes that type of collaborative effort to bring everybody together. We have currently stood up our JOC, our Joint Operations Center, that's co-located with Emergency Management's EOC, or Emergency Operations Center, that facilitates the communication between each of the two entities, and has just been alluded to. Pretty much in Eastern Kentucky, there are three primary corridors that we're looking at. For the first is I-75, pretty much south of Corbin down to the Tennessee border. In particular, we've got soldiers and vehicles and equipment from our armories out of London and Barville to respond to any sort of guard-related response along that corridor. Additionally, we've also got the Hal Rogers Parkway. And specifically, we've got soldiers and equipment from our armories out of Somerset all the way over to Hazard, standing by in response to any sort of an incident or event that necessitates our call up for folks who would need it along that corridor. The third corridor I want to make mention to everybody is Highway 23, and that pretty much is running towards Pikesville. And in particular, we've got our folks out of Jackson and Prestonsburg standing by towards response in that quarter. Now, when I say standing by, and the governor also alluded to this, this means we physically have soldiers who are in each of those armories as of 1700 or 5 p.m. this evening throughout the duration of however long they may be needed in response to the winter weather conditions as is impacting on all of us. The soldiers are physically there, the equipment, meaning the vehicles, are there, and they're inside the armories. That would enable them to quite simply be in a warm environment to facilitate their starting up if necessary. And we've already uploaded each of the vehicles, as the governor alluded to, with emergency equipment. And this is everything from supplemental rations to water to blankets, any other emergency supplies that could become relevant to the type of circumstance that our folks should call out to. One thing I want to make mention, and some of you are probably aware of, for some of the armories of this impacted area that I mentioned, you may very well be aware that our soldiers have actually deployed overseas. That the men and the women of some of these units are not physically there, but that does not mean we don't have other soldiers who will be physically there. So in spite of our overseas engagements, that has not impacted in any way our response to the local winter weather conditions. And one other thing I want to make mention to as well, both Secretary Gray and Director Heiser alluded to this. We're all specifically really kind of focused on Eastern Kentucky, but that doesn't mean that we aren't also focused on Western Kentucky. In the National Guard, your National Guard, we've alerted all of our armories throughout the entire state. The folks in Eastern Kentucky, the folks in Western Kentucky, they are very much aware of what we're responding to. They have folks who are physically in place. They have folks who are on call. And quite simply, across the entire Commonwealth, we're prepared to respond to whatever type of an incident will be necessary. And as I mentioned already, as I wrap this up, this is very much a collaborative effort, that it's a whole of state government type of response, and the communication, the partnerships, the relationships we've got with each of the other cabinets and directorates across the entire Commonwealth. That's what makes the difference. Sir, thank you.
All right. As another update, sadly, we have received notice through Tourism, Arts, and Heritage Cabinet of a missing person report at Cumberland Falls in Whitley County. Walter Dwayne Dale is a 35-year-old, a white male with brown hair, weighing 150 pounds, 5 foot 8 inches tall, has been reported missing from Williamsburg since Sunday, January 14th. He was last seen at Cumberland Falls State Resort Park. Both Whitley and McCreary County emergency management officials are involved in the search for him. If you have any information about Walter Dale's whereabouts, please call your local authorities or the Kentucky State Police. Finally, the Kentucky State Police is working incredibly hard during this weather event to keep everyone safe. Their one ask of us is do not call 911 for weather conditions or for traffic conditions. We've put up different ways to find that. Most everyone has a smartphone. If you don't, you likely have a TV, and you can get the weather conditions and the most recent traffic conditions from there. Calling 911 for weather or traffic ties up those lines when an emergency may be happening. Somebody out there needing help, and it might take longer to get to them because you're calling to find out what the weather's like or whether it's safe to drive. So please go to the different numbers that we already have for you to check on those various conditions. So to wrap up, we're still in a very difficult weather situation. It can still be dangerous out there, both from temperatures we're going to face as well as driving conditions. So everybody be careful. Let's get through this one. We think ends late Wednesday, early Thursday. And then if we have another one, we're going to have a lot of these through the end of February. Let's just be prepared each and every time. We've been through worse. We can handle this, but only if we make good decisions, we follow good advice, and we take care of each other. All right, we have 3 reporters on the line. We'll start with Karen from WUKY.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Governor. I have 2, please. The first is several school districts in our listening area have already canceled classes tomorrow, some already through Wednesday. But some of the independent schools are still on the fence because they told me they look at the fact that the parents can leave the home and drop off at the door of the school. What would you like them to consider in making their decision? And the other is last Thursday during Team Kentucky, you mentioned that communication was going to be so key going into this. How do you feel that it's early on, but how is that going so far between transportation, the electric company, and the EOC?
We feel the communication is going incredibly well. We're also very pleased at how all forms of media, from radio to TV to newspaper, are getting the word out in every way and form about the conditions that we face. I believe people have been primarily informed, though after you've been through a bunch of these, maybe some people can get desensitized. Now's not the time to go camping or to choose to do something else, especially outside. So it's really important that people take this seriously. As far as schools go, as we could see from the map, it's going to be very different across different parts of Kentucky. The districts really need to look at their roads, their primary roads. They need to look at how cold it's going to be and whether or not they can have that school warm enough. They need to look at what it's going to be like if they're planning on busing. Number 1, what the routes are going to be like, and number 2, what it's going to be like if anybody has to wait outside for those buses. I believe that different decisions are going to be able to be made in different places. I will say once we get to tomorrow morning and Wednesday morning, we just need to be watching those wind chills very carefully. That's one of the biggest concerns, is how quickly someone can get frostbite. So those would be the conditions that I'd look at. There are meteorologists and others in all these areas that can work with the school systems, but be careful. And yes, looks like we're going to have a lot of weather through the end of February. It looks like we're going to have another cold patch, but -10, -15 wind chill, we don't see that very often. So let's treat it like the serious occurrence that it is. We got Tom from Kentucky Today.
Thank you, Governor, and good afternoon to you. Have you given any thought to closing down state government in some parts of the state where it's affected? Or do you have to close? Is it an all or nothing thing because of the communication between the various parts of the state?
It's not an all or nothing. And even when we close state office buildings, there's a lot of state government that still works either remotely or because that they are necessary and essential personnel. We're watching it. We're going to watch what the roads are like, especially around the Frankfort area where so many work. But we have a number of options, from closing state office buildings to allowing individuals in certain areas to work remote, to allowing certain cabinets, depending on their different divisions, to work remotely. So we're still watching it. We probably won't make a call on that until later tonight or early tomorrow morning. But let me say this: in state government, if somebody comes outside and there is significant accumulation where they are, and they are not a part of one of these essential groups, then they ought to at least call in, and we ought to have a conversation with them, because we want to keep them safe. I want everybody to make it through this one. We've lost too many people, from a pandemic to tornadoes to flooding and so many other events. We want to make sure we're careful on this one and careful on all of them. We can make up a missed day, but we can't make up for a missed person. And finally, Rebecca from Link, Northern Kentucky.
Hi, Governor. How are you? I have a
great.
question about warming. I have a question about warming centers. Not every community in the state has possibly adequate emergency shelters, or maybe they'll exceed capacity. Is there anything the state can do or would do to add warming centers in that over the next couple of days in areas where the temperatures are in the teens or single digits?
Certainly, if requested by an area that needs assistance, especially one that looks like it's going to get hit harder. Our good news is we only have about 1,000 people statewide that are out of power. Warming centers typically are needed when you have a significant portion that are out of power. When you think about the ice storms, it wasn't necessarily the temperature that resulted in the need for the warming centers. It was the ice that froze on the power lines and ultimately knocked them down, knocking power out to so many different individuals. So each county has an emergency management director. They typically make the call on setting up warming centers, and we'll work with each of them. But right now, we moving back, remember before Friday, we were talking about the wind gusts and our worry about how many people might lose power if we had a lot of limbs that went down. And that's when we'd really be looking at warming centers. Well, the wind gusts didn't knock out much power. We're only at about 1,000 people total statewide. So we think we're in pretty good shape, but we need to make sure there's a warm place for people that don't otherwise have a warm place. And that's both can be done through emergency management, also can be done with neighbors reaching out to neighbors. All right, so we're going to have another at least day and a half that are really cold. Watch your weather conditions tonight. Be careful if you travel tomorrow and Wednesday morning. Everybody stay safe. Thanks.